All right. What's up, team? Good to see you on a Thursday. I am Dr. Jeff Moore, currently serving as the CEO of ICE. I'm lead faculty for the cervical and lumbar spine courses. Wonderful to be here with you on a Leadership Thursday. So, of course, it's Leadership Thursday. That means it's Gut Check Thursday. So, let's do this before we get into the topic, Mastering the Art of Presentation Part 3. So, Gut Check's going to be spicy. So, it's only 30 burpees, 60 pull-ups and 30 burpees. But you got to figure if you break down the time of that, you got what, a minute and a half on the burpees on the front end and the back end. In the 60 pull-ups, you've got a couple of minutes for. So the question is, can you get through this before that pain cave sneaks up on you? So I think it'll be fun to watch all of us try to escape this workout by hustling through it. And so please get it done. Tag Ice Physio, hashtag Ice Train. Can't wait to see how that goes for you all over the next couple of days. As far as courses coming up this weekend, we have Older Adult in Des Moines, Iowa. If you want to catch Fitness Athlete live, you've got two chances next weekend, February 19, 20. You can catch the team in Memphis, Tennessee, or Scottsdale, Arizona. So if you're hoping to catch that course, you have two chances next weekend. And the following weekend here in Denver, only one seat left for cervical spine, February 26, 27. So a lot of great stuff coming up on the calendar. As always, ptonice.com. Okay, the art of presenting. And first of all, thank you all for the feedback on the first couple episodes of the art of presenting. I love this topic. So lots more to share. And today, this might not be the most exciting episode you ever tuned into, but I think it's an important understanding of a philosophical principle of teaching in general that carries over to any teaching and learning, which I think is valuable if it might lack some level of excitement. But let me first explain that coming to understand something, anything in your life, requires multi-angle engagement. And I think it's really important to understand this principle. So this literally goes to pretty much everything. I was asked last night, actually, I was talking to a couple of folks who are looking to open a cash-based physical therapy practice, and they were asking about Onward and specifically our marketing strategy. And I told them the most important thing is that you're hitting people from multiple angles, because that's what really deepens their coming to the conclusion of I should do this. I want to do this. I need to do this. This is where I should do this. That does not happen in a linear way. It happens when someone's getting hit from multiple angles. So we had this conversation about you need to have a great social media presence, right? So when they see your stuff, they're like, hey, that's me. I could see me doing that. That's what I need. But you also need to be doing presentations, right? So when they're at their local gym, they see you as the expert delivering material that's relevant to them. But you also need to be hitting them in their email with local healthy events that are going on, so they see you leading in that space. And after they get hit from all these different angles, that brings them to this conclusion, a deep, firm conclusion that this is something they need to be a part of. It's really, really important to appreciate that these things summate. You need to be engaging people in different ways with different kinds of value. That summates and brings them to this conclusion. In any area of coming to understand something, it's rarely linear or singular. Instead, it's getting similar information in multiple different ways that get someone to the finish line. This is true in that example. It's true in pretty much every example. But let me give you a couple of really specific ones when it comes to actually trying to teach somebody something. And then hopefully you can extrapolate that and carry that over. And then I'll give you the recipe for presenting, which at that point should be fairly obvious. So think about this. Think about trying to teach somebody a psychomotor skill. So that's something we've been doing for many, many years. So in like our cervical, lumbar, spine, thrust courses, we're literally trying to teach psychomotor skills. So help somebody execute a certain technique on another human. What is the process to that? Well, we call it the learning tripod because when you look at most of these activities, you can break it down into three core components. The first one is the learner must do the thing, right? They must get reps. They must sit there and say, okay, it's thumb on the jaw, right? It's finger, right? Here's all my components, and now do the thing. There's no doubt that doing reps is an important part of learning a psychomotor skill. It's also the most obvious one. It's the one that nobody ever skips. But it is only one, and by no means a large one, or larger one, it is only one piece of the learning tripod. Without the other two components, mastery is impossible. The second one is having it done to you. Tell me that you've never been in a class and when someone did the technique to you, better yet, during a round robin or something like that, multiple people did it to you. Tell me you didn't learn a ton. Tell me there weren't some people who put their hands on you and you were like, whoa, okay, I hope I don't feel like that, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's so pokey. Oh my, right. On the contrary, some folks put their hands on you and you were like, oh gosh, that is really, really comfortable. It is truly shocking how feel helps you separate novice from master. It's an absolutely incredible learning experience to have these things performed upon you. You definitely do not learn in any complete sense until you've felt it. So this is why sometimes in these courses, we'll have people that say, "Ooh, I'd rather not have that done to me." And everybody has the right to say that, but we do try to encourage them, depending on how we can change the environment, right? You think about things like dry needling courses you go to, maybe you do it in an area that's not as scary. With manipulation, same thing. We really try to get people to experience it because there's no replacing that part of the multi-angular learning process. So having it done to you is critical. It is I don't want to say more because I don't think that's fair, even though my bias wants to say that. It's every bit as important as doing it. So step one, doing it. Step two, having it done to you. And step three of the learning tripod of a psychomotor technique, the one that most people miss, critiquing it. The value in critiquing it is so underappreciated. So if you go to our courses or down at South College, if you're in any of those classes with us, you'll notice a big part of our learning process is you getting to critique it. So now we have somebody else perform the technique, and your job is simply to observe, to look at it with a critical eye. Everything you've heard about how to do it, all your reps of doing it, having it done to you. Now you're watching it. Tell me when you're a third party, learning isn't easier. How easy is it to critique someone's case when they call you and say, I'm having a hard time with a patient? And you're like, oh, well, you missed this and this. It's pretty easy when you're the third party removed from the scenario. The pressure's down and it gives you a totally different lens. You don't have the distractions of actually being in the energy of the moment. So you can sit and say, what do I see here? What doesn't look quite right? If they change, what would it make a big difference? You walk around the table. That third party learning is a completely different kind of learning than feeling the reps, and a completely different kind of learning than doing the reps. And it really puts the bow on that tripod that gives you the fullest understanding. I love when I see people who are having a hard time in lab when they were doing it, when they're watching it, they're like, oh, now I see what you were saying. Like now that I'm standing here, I can see that table's got to be lower. That person looks uncomfortable, but they couldn't feel that when they were actually at the table. It is when all three of those are executed. More importantly, when they're executed over and over again in a circular fashion. When somebody does some reps, feels some reps, watches some reps, then goes back to doing some reps. When you build the whole tripod and you do it repeatedly, that is when you have enough angles of the information, similar information coming at you differently. That's what deepens your understanding and actually pushes you towards mastery. Okay, let me give you another example. When you have a student and you're a CI and you're trying to teach them the art of engaging in the clinical process, again, what's the learning tripod here? Well, first of all, because of the complexity of going through an entire eval, let alone treatment, they have to watch you do it, right? They've got to watch the process and they have to be educated on what are all the steps because there's so many. There's change of position. There's so many different goals of each of them. So the first step simply has to be an extended period of watching the process. So in our clinical rotations, what we've always done is if someone's there for, let's say, 8 weeks, the first 1 to 2 weeks, depending upon the experience of the student, they're just going to watch. They know what they're watching for, but they don't really have any critical eye yet because they haven't done it. They haven't been engaged. They're just watching and learning. Step number two is doing it. Okay, so now you're in the hot seat, right? So now you've got your student up there, and hopefully you're breaking this into reasonable components. So maybe on the first week, they're doing this objective, then this objective and the physical exam, then all of that and the treatment. So hopefully it's manageable chunks, but they are now doing it. They're getting reps. They're up there trying to execute what they were told to do. And here's the most important part, and the third piece of the clinical rotation tripod. In the last week or two, the student now stops doing reps and they again watch their CI, but this time with a critical eye because now they've struggled through it. They've done it. Now they get to sit back and say, ooh, hold on, doc. And then, I don't want to step on a line here, but did you really get a good handle on irritability there? Like, were those really the best asterisks? I think what you told me was it's so amazing. The pressure's gone. They have enough struggle on board to make this productive. They can look and say, oh, I remember when I was doing it, this, that, and the other. But now they've got that third party observer eye. Just like when you're watching someone do a manipulation, just like when you're watching someone do anything. When you're watching someone do an eval, it's so fun to watch the students say, hey, I think you could have done this and this better. It's so neat to watch them realize how much they've learned and watch them identify things that we can all do better. And then in a perfect world, they now go to their next rotation. They're back in the hot seat, right? So they're going through this in a circular fashion. It is getting similar exposure, right? Similar exposure in different ways that deepen someone's understanding towards mastery, someone's movement towards mastery. So let's wrap it up and talk about presenting, because that's supposed to be the whole point of this. So how do you apply the learning tripod when you're presenting information, trying to get good at presenting information? Team, same roadmap. Number one, you do it. You present to people and you struggle through getting comfortable with that and trying your best to make it effective. But then you put the other legs on the tripod. Number two, you have it done to you, just like you would with a psychomotor technique. Now, here's the coolest thing and why you can probably accelerate your presenting skills faster than most other skills is you can have it done, your own product, to yourself. Meaning you can record everything you do and become the audience member of your own presentation. There is nothing. I'm asked all the time, what is the number one way that I can get better at presenting? There is nothing that is more productive than being an audience member to your own presentation. I know it's painful. That's the whole point, right? Sitting there and saying, oh gosh, that could have been better. And you will give yourself some grace, please. Like, identify a few things you did well, because it can be pretty devastating, but you are going to just be able to pick out a ton of things that you wish were better. Having it done to you. Now, obviously, go to a bunch of presentations, but we're all natural learners. So I think that's going to be already done for you, but be critical when you do it. So have it done to you by other people, but there's no substitute for actually having your own product delivered back to you. And number three, critique it. So here's what you got to do. Get with a couple buddies in your clinic and decide that you're going to do 6 or 8 in-services and you're going to invite the public and you're going to take turns presenting, and decide ahead of time that you're going to be ruthless because you care about each other, right? Nothing in my world says I care about you more than a lack of grace, right? Like you care so much about me achieving my potential that you're going to tell me the truth. Find a couple of people who are like that. I have found all sorts of people in my life who are like that. Find a couple of folks who are like that and go critique each other. When they're done, say, okay, I've got a fair list of things here, right? You could have done these things better. That will execute the full tripod, deliver the material, become the audience member for your own material, and then critique other people's material in a really formal fashion. Importantly, around and around and around we go. This magic formula only works when you keep the merry-go-round spinning. After you're done critiquing it, go back and present it. You are going to be shocked. I don't care which one of these you're doing. Once you went through the feeling it or the receiving it and the critiquing it, when you get back in the captain's chair, you are going to be shocked how much better you are, how much more familiar it all feels. You can't even really articulate it. You're just more comfortable with it. That's because you engaged in similar types of content in different modes. And that's what deepens our drive towards mastery. So, team, my encouragement to you is not only when it comes to presenting material, but anytime you want to master anything, think about the task, think about the art, and break it down in different ways that you can experience the similar material in unique modes. Do them in a circular fashion, do them all, and do them all repetitively. It is that formula that makes somebody walk away not just thinking they have an understanding, but feeling a connection to the material that gives them the confidence to actually implement it and build upon it. When it comes to teaching, you've got to identify the tripod and keep the merry-go-round spinning. I hope that helps. It's a little more abstract, but I hope next time you look at a piece of material, you can break it down like that and build a method towards teaching, depending on what the content is, with a relevant tripod in mind. Team, have a wonderful Thursday. Great being here with you. I've got a million more of these. We'll see how long they'll let me on the mic here to knock these out. But hopefully over the next few Thursdays, I'll share a few more tips with you. Have a wonderful Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your week. PTOnIce.com. That's where we are for anything you need. It's all of our content. Cheers, everybody.